My dog is down here. Hey, bud. If you weren't 90 pounds, I'd lift you up into camera view. All right, go. Go, go, go. Shoo, go on. He's a good boy. Here we are once again to talk about the Druids of Yester Hill. This video has been a long time coming. I've been talking about it since early spring. You guys have been asking about it since before that. And here it is for your viewing enjoyment. My big problem with this chapter is that the Druids don't really have a history. There's no explanation as to their purpose in the area, why they're doing what exactly they're doing. And as you know, I like a bit more meat to my narrative. So what we've done is we've taken these druids, we've given them that history, that backstory, that purpose. And if you've watched my video on the winery, you have a pretty good idea of what their overarching purpose is. Hundreds of years ago, the druids were a part of a larger tribe of forest folk, of mountain folk, wild people that roamed the lands of Barovia. They were led by a fearsome barbarian named Kavan, and they took to calling themselves the Kavani. Now, if you've watched my Amber Temple video, you know what the Kavani are up to nowadays. They're sending their youth into the Amber Temple to test their mettle. But a long time ago, shortly after Kavan disappeared to fight the darkness and the mists that had enshrouded Barovia, the Kavani kind of split into two sects. There was the original nature-loving hippy-dippy sect, and then there was the darker sect that saw Strahd as the avatar of the land and worthy of their worship. Now, understandably, these two sides, they didn't get along, and a violent schism happened. Eventually, the darker sect was driven out from the main Kavani tribe, and they had to find their own way. Lots of them died, but enough remnants survived to where the forest folk, the druids of Barovia, remained and thrived around the Luna River area. Back when they were part of the main Kavani tribe, the druids of Yester Hill were like any other druid class that you would play as a player. They had the ability to wild shape and be really in tune with nature, and that all changed when they went to Luna River and delved even further into darkness. They found the Gulthias tree there within the forests, and they began to cultivate it, and that spelled the downfall for their true druidic nature. They lost their ability to wild shape. Nature itself saw them as abhorrent, and it rejected them. And that loss of their wild shape ability has really chapped their ass. They don't like it, they hate it, and they mourn the loss of their heritage. And as such, it really drives what they are doing with the Martikovs. It drives their jealousy. They've discovered this family of shape changers, and they are hell-bent on getting that secret. As such, they have raided the winery, and they have taken a few people back with them. And we'll talk a bit more about that in just a second. Before we talk about that though, if you want the written version of this guide, you can get it on Patreon by pledging just as little as $1. That's this guide and all the other Lunch Break Heroes guides, yours to download and keep forever. So go ahead and check it out. And if you don't want to do that, that's okay. Go ahead and subscribe, and we'll see you back here for all of our other future videos. Now that we've discussed the changes that we've made to the Druids' history, let's start talking about the changes we've made to the hill itself. The first change that we've made is in Area Y2, the ring of cairns that surrounds the hill. This is a small change, and it's that you aren't going to find the Blood Spear of Kavan in this area. We have actually moved it. And it is now located in Area Y3, where we've made quite a significant change. As written, Area Y3 is filled with 12 enemies, 6 druids and 6 berserkers. They aren't here anymore in our version. We've actually moved them. In their place is just a single druid, and he's covered head to toe in, well, blood. He's a new enemy called a blood druid, and you can find his stat block linked in the description of this video. This druid, his name is Keshgar, and he's holding somebody captive. It's a woman, and she's on her knees in front of him, and he's holding her by the jaw, forcing her to look at the effigy. He's holding up the Martikov gem right in front of her. He's whispering in her ear, and he's taunting her, and he's telling her that everything that's happening now can stop if she just gives him what he wants. Keshgar's obviously not a nice guy. Now, the woman is Stefania Martikov. She has been taken captive along with her teenage son, Claudio. Now, Claudio, we'll talk about him in a second. He's in Area Y4 with the Gulthias tree. But focusing back on Area Y3, another one of the big changes is the effigy itself. I mentioned that the winery gem is in Keshgar's hand, so what the heck is powering the effigy? Now it's the Blood Spear of Kavan. We've taken it out of Area Y2, as I stated earlier, and it is now right smack in the effigy's chest where its heart should be. It's sticking out and it is dripping blood. This is something that your players can climb up there and take, but not before the spear itself, the Spirit of Kavan, reaches out to them telepathically. Kavan may be dead, but this is Barovia, and being dead doesn't mean a whole lot sometimes. The Spirit of Kavan endures within his spear. It's a sentient spear. Now, Kavan, he does not like what his descendants are doing. He's really pissed off. He knows that if his descendants succeed in their ritual, he's basically going to become a tool of Strahd worship, and he does not want that to happen. So as soon as your players, your party, enters into Area Y3, they're going to hear a booming voice in their head saying, You, I feel the rage within you. Come and take me. Get me out of this, and let's kick some ass. Whatever you want to say. But he's ready to be taken out of that effigy, and he's ready to be wielded in battle. Now, if your party does decide to climb up the effigy and retrieve the spear, they've got to make a DC 13 athletics check just to climb up the effigy. Now, the effigy is wrapped in the roots of the Gulthias tree that have kind of snaked their way upwards, and these roots are going to actively kind of move away and thwart the climbing capabilities of your characters. So they're trying to keep you from doing whatever it is you want to do. They're trying to throw you off. So you got that DC in there. When you actually get to the spear, it's going to take a DC 15 athletics check to yank it out of there. It's jammed in there really good. But once a character does retrieve the spear from the effigy, they are chosen by Kavan. They can wield the spear instantly, as if they've attuned to it. Know that removing the spear doesn't stop the ritual. The druids can still summon Wintersplinter. They simply want to use Kavan's spirit as an animating spirit of destruction, and they want to use him to make Wintersplinter stronger. Now, if you do end up removing the spear, the resulting tree blight only has about half of its hit points, so it's definitely worth removing, but it does not stop the ritual. Stopping the ritual happens in Area Y4, coming up right now. Aside from the druids not having much of a history, my other big gripe with this chapter was the fact that the Gulthias tree in Area Y4 was easily overlooked. A lot of parties had the habit of just hightailing it out of there as soon as they killed all the druids and stopped the ritual, and they forgot about the tree. There was no impetus to go further south and destroy the thing. And I love Gulthias trees, not insofar as I actually want a bleeding vampiric tree in my backyard, but they're just really fun to have in my games. And any opportunity to draw attention to one, I'm gonna take it. Around the Gulthias tree in Area Y4 are two rings of people dressed in furs and leathers and covered in muck and grime and worse. And the outer ring of these people is formed up of 6 berserkers dancing around, waving their axes to and fro and just acting all wild. The inner ring is 6 druids locked arm in arm, and they're chanting these unintelligible words at the Gulthias tree itself. Now, the Gulthias tree is a little different from what's written in the module. We've added basically a big mouth to the side of it. It's a sacrificial maw. It is how the druids water the tree, as it were. Now, inside of this maw is Claudio, Stefania's son, and he's being pierced by these spikes that protrude from the tree's bark. They're basically the fangs of this vampire tree, and you know what they're trying to do. In addition to the druid's animalistic chants, it's Claudio's blood that is fueling the ritual that is gonna summon Wintersplinter. His blood is being taken out of his body, and it's going into these bulbous black fruits that are hanging off the Gulthias tree. It's also going into the roots that are attached to the effigy in Area Y3. And that's what Keshgar is making Stefania watch. As soon as your party enters into area Y4, the berserkers on the outer ring are going to attack immediately. Now, this is pretty okay. Your party's not going to get too ganged up on because the druids on the inner ring are content to continue on with their ritual. They are going to ignore your party as long as they possibly can, as long as their chain holds. If you want to break that chain that the druids are making, you're going to have to make a contested athletics or acrobatics check. And as long as the druids are arm in arm, they've got advantage on this. So you're definitely going to want to get some help from your other party members. The ritual that's taking place here is a little different than what's written in the module if you haven't figured that out already. It's shorter, for one. In the module, the ritual takes 10 full rounds. That's 1 minute. In our guide here, it takes 6 rounds. That's 36 seconds. That's a pretty quick ritual. The reason for that is because being in the maw of the tree confers 1 level of exhaustion per round. And as you know, after 6 levels of exhaustion, you just kind of keel over and die. And that's what's going to happen to Claudio if your party doesn't get in there and rescue him post-haste. While the ritual is ongoing and the tree has a victim, on initiative count 10, the tree is going to spawn several blights within 60 feet of itself. These blights will then start attacking any intruder in the area. The 5th round of combat is where things really start to get messy. The black bulbous fruit that's hanging from the tree begins to explode, and anybody within 30 feet of the tree has to make a DC 15 Constitution saving throw or become poisoned for 1 minute by the black blood that is now dispersed through the air. If your party wants to free Claudio from the tree or any other victim that it might have, they have to succeed on a DC 16 athletics check to yank them out, or they have to deal 50 damage to the tree in 1 round, and then it just kind of reflexively spits them out. If the tree goes 1 full round of combat without a victim, the ritual has to be started over. Now, the druids aren't going to let that happen if they can help it. They will actually throw themselves into the maw as a sacrifice to keep this train a-rolling. So be careful on that and try to block the maw if you can. If the druids succeed in their ritual, either by draining Claudio of his blood or by throwing themselves into the maw, then Wintersplinter is summoned, and things happen pretty much according to script. The tree blight heads off north and destroys the winery. As stated in my winery guide, it then heads to Vallaki, breaks through the walls, and destroys the Blue Water Inn. Chances are that won't happen, because your intrepid heroes will track it down and kill it before anything bad happens. Right?